I was like, man, I can't wait to beat that Bayonetta 3. So, Bayonetta 3 is a fun action game. And much like every other Bayonetta game, the actual final boss is trash.
Oh, no.
Is just a bad fight. Still,
Aw.
nothing beats Baldur or Lumen Sage to date.
They didn't learn, huh?
Nope.
Damn.
Also,
Hmm.
you get to the end of the game and you're like, wow, Helena Taylor is an idiot. And that's all I'll continue to say on that topic. And then you get to the end of the game and Woolie, you know how when people are like, wow, that thing is bad, haha, and you're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm preparing myself for it to be quite poor. It is bad. It is a bad, awful ending for everyone. I saw someone in my chat point out, and I think I can agree, that it is the 9/11 for gays in terms of badness. But I'll go with my own appraisal, which is the only reason that this ending is not as bad as the third birthday is because it does not imply a character to be a pedophile, and that's it. Other than the lack of a pedophile on the cast,
Yeah, that was happening in the
is
third birthday.
it is just as bad as the third birthday's ending.
Wow. 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 Okay. This is not just haha silly action game story, ignore it. You're talking about like, well, cuz in hold on. Third birthday's case, the game was bad enough that the ending was actually just the final nail in the coffin of a franchise ruiner, which we're going to talk about in a little bit when we get to the docket.
Yeah.
But you're using words that are way
I am. So here's the thing. You know how like it's an action game and who cares about the story?
Yeah.
The ending is so bad that it makes me resentful of the game in general. Resentful.
Okay.
Like, did you notice that a lot of people were talking about how much fun they were having on Bayonetta 3, and then they hit the ending, and then they fucking stopped talking about how much fun they were having with Bayonetta 3?
I didn't see.
Noticed.
I didn't see that, but I did see I did see Twitter threads that were like, "My thoughts on the ending," as opposed to "My thoughts on the game," and I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna scroll past that." But I mean, based on what you're saying, I'm gonna link it to.
I would compare it to Mass Effect, but you're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, look, in the context of Bayonetta, when you say something such as a 9/11 for gays, there's only one way to interpret that. So I'm gonna.
You would think there's only one way to interpret that. You would think, but it's not necessarily how you're interpreting it.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. I mean, like, because okay, expectation wise, I have one.
Yeah.
It's that when the credits play, they start dancing.
Well,
and that's it.
Your expectation is accurate.
Okay.
They will in fact be dancing at the end.
That's kind of all I'm expecting and looking for here.
It also, and so this is a little bit aside, because it's more about the ending sequence and like, there's a part of this game as you're playing it. There's like a level that you get past, and you're like, this was the day Devil May Cry 5 came out. Because after that, the game starts to change.
Weird. Okay.
And you start to just see Devil May Cry 5 in it in a really weird way.
So
It's weird. It's really strange, and it's not just me that noticed it. Like there was a point where, not my second to last stream, I started up and I kept going like, "This looks exactly like this room from DMC5, like 4 or 5 times."
So when it comes to like the ball drop and final bosses, for example, I kind of think of like it's surprising that in taking so many correct cues from DMC3, right? Dante's Awakening taught a lot of lessons that were worth emulating, and many of them were such as the rival fight and all that. But the what's very important is that after you beat Arkham, Virgil 3 is the final boss of the game.
Right.
And not doing it that way leaves, you know, it leaves something to be desired, because clearly you don't want there to be a peak followed by a valley for your final moments, you know. If you remember the presentation that Itsuno did about DMC5, it was about how most games show you the power-up ramp, and they want you to hit the point of being full power midway through the game or at the major turning point, and then you stay powered up all the way through to the end. And in this case, he's like, we want DMC5 to be a power arc that goes all the way up, and then when you hit the final part of the game, that's when you're actually at the peak, and then it actually just keeps going up from there.
Yeah.
Right? Like it never like it's a ramp that just never stops. So if they're doing it this way again, that sucks, because they're kind of still hitting that valley. In the first game, I will say that like it's like as goofy as it was, that like you're not gonna get your Jean 3 sequence there. You get your Baldur. But the whole punch God into the sun bit was properly silly and goofy, and like, yeah, okay, this is great. This is over the top dumb shit. Aesir didn't have the fun. The Aesir fight was not anywhere near as fun as the Lumen Sage was, so that just makes you feel like you're on a downhill thing there. And yeah, I was gonna say that like in both cases, the lesson to be learned is just do Dante's Awakening.
Hey, so you want to talk about lessons learned? You know what's a lesson that was not learned from Bayonetta 2? Which was, hey, before your final boss fight, don't put a mandatory minigame section as part of the stage.
I saw someone say that they liked the little Jean minigames you've been hating. I saw someone describe them as pretty
they're
good.
fine. They're inoffensive because they're short. But like before the final boss, the chapter that is final boss time,
yeah,
there is still a mandatory minigame in it.
Okay.
Also, and this goes into like a wider thing. The final boss is not a problem because you're fighting Arkham after Virgil, right? It's not. The final boss is terrible for 2 reasons. One, it's that thing where it's cutscene, story, drama, fight, cutscene, more drama, fight more, like in terms of like, you know, stages of the boss fight. But the story is the worst thing you've ever seen. So like every time you start to enjoy the boss fight, it goes, no, here's like the worst ending you've ever heard of. Like, and then you go back to the boss fight, and they're like, no, here we're making it worse. Oh, it's way worse than you thought.
Okay.
And the other thing is something that I complained about the very first time I talked about the game, and I was very worried that this was going to stay for the whole game, and it totally does. The homunculi suck compared to Angels and Demons. And Angels and Demons never, ever come back into the forefront. They are absolutely relegated to the mini-games. They're not as the homunculi are not as visually interesting. Their names are harder to remember and less interesting. They all look the same. They all exactly the same. And they're just kind of boring to fight.
See, I was kind of I was hoping and kind of expecting that like there were gonna be an excuse to just go like balls to the wall on
No,
the
no, they're
move
not.
set difficulty.
No, no.
Mm,
Like
okay,
I'm like thinking about it like a lot.
because
Bayo
that's
1 is probably the best one.
because because like the angels and demons are like established at this point and they're great,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
there's a limit to what you can do going into a new game with them, right? So that's when introducing a new force would allow you to just like fucking go nuts, you
Hey,
know?
let me ask you a quick question. I'm
Mm.
gonna do a quick enemy test because Bayonetta 1 was a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago for you, right?
Bayo 1?
Yeah, Bayo 1.
No, Bayo 1 was 2019.
No, no, the last time you played it.
Bayo 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I at the beginning of WoolieVersus Act
Okay.
2.
Then perfect. Hey, Wooly, the very first enemy that you fight in Bayonetta 1, the little guys with have the spears and they wind up and they
The
hit
little
you. What
angels,
are they
yeah.
called?
Uh, well, shit. I forget.
Oh, you can't remember?
Yeah.
What about the big guys? The big guys with the axes.
Beloved.
Beloved. Okay, great. What's the two-headed dragon called?
Uh, fuck. Uh, I forget a bunch of the
Okay,
names.
close enough. It's Fortitudo.
Fortitudo, yeah, Fortitudo.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you got one of the three, right? And you played that game a couple years ago, right? No, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You got
Yeah.
one out of three, right?
Sure.
I can't tell you one enemy name from this game.
Okay.
They are all cloud and stratum and cumulonimbo pseudoscience names. And they all look exactly the same. And they're fucking boring enemies. They're boring.
Hmm.
I remember Affinity, I remember Beloved, I remember Ortido and Sapienza
Mm-hmm.
and Justicia and Pain, Resentment,
Well, yeah,
Sloth,
Phantasmaranea. Like, yeah, no.
right?
I'm playing 2 right now, so yeah, Swindler of Progress.
Yeah,
Like,
everybody remembers the Swindler
yeah,
Progress.
yeah.
You remember the Golem? You all these
Mm-hmm.
things. Honest to shit, dude, couldn't tell you a single one.
Hmm.
Like they're just not interesting to fight.
So there's no gracious and glorious or pain or like wrath equivalent. Like there's some like
Well, Pain is in the game, and Grace and Glory are in the game, and they're more fun to fight than the homunculi enemies.
because like in 2 you kind of are like what's gonna be the super enemy, you know? What's gonna be the run stopper?
Yeah.
And like usually that's a name you're gonna remember.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, no, the run stopper in Bayo 2, sorry, Bayo 3, can't remember their names. One is an absolutely hideous Chinese dragon double-ended fucking cat dog freak that just stomps around and is awful to fight, and the other is like a giant snail that turns into ice mode that was clearly designed to only be fought against by Bayonetta and is incredibly fucking infuriating to fight against as Viola.
Mm.
And they suck.
Damn. Okay.
Like I would way rather go back and play Bayo 1 or 2 right now than continue to do new game plus stuff on Bayo 3.
Is it well I was gonna say
Which sucks,
well
'cause you get the most weapons of any game ever in Bayo 3. Like it has the most character action weapons and moves conceivable.
now that it's done, did you see any modes unlocking like tag climax or anything like that?
I
Like
mean, non-stop infinite climax unlocked, as well
Okay.
as there's expert mode and there's some secret stuff hidden around. There's some secret bosses. I think you can fight Rodin again. There's no tag thing. Definitely no
Okay.
tag thing.
Because I guess I'm wondering then is like, do you think this is a result of them trying to make this more of an astral chain scale bound thing? You know, again, it's a different director, right? At the end of the day, it's not the same. So, with each game having a different captain at the helm, the flavors are going to land a little bit differently. But in this case, when we're talking about how the combat changes drastically and it borrows from something they just did, and the astral chain aspect also come back and are borrowed, and the guy who is directing it is the combat designer on both of those things, is this kind of like, or is this entirely unrelated to that, like the change of direction?
It's unrelated. It's literally just the enemies are boring.
Okay.
They're boring Colgate fresh tubes in the shape of enemies. They're a bunch of toothpaste monsters. Do you remember?
And
you remember that gigantic sword angel in Bayo 2 from the very first level? The one he's got no head, but he's got the face on the sword.
Yeah, he gets sword fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when you saw him and he threw the sword and you're like, wow, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I literally never went, oh, cool, to a single enemy in the entire game.
Even during like action set pieces and stuff.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Wow. What because I guess
like the ending's one thing, but the fact that the enemy roster sucks is a way bigger problem.
But what about beating them up? I guess is like...
Yeah, no, it's like, I mean, if you want to beat it... You know what? No. Because a lot of them are like... How do I put this? The boss fights, except for the last one, are pretty good. They give you a rival character in that game, and the rival character in that game is awesome. It is a damn shame that they are not actually the final boss, because they're great. But just thinking, there's a fucking tower monster that you have to send your demon out to hit it like 10 times before you're allowed to hit it, while ads attack you. That just sucks. It's just not a good roster of enemies. Like,
is that
it's fun to beat on them with your combo moves, but like actually back and forth fighting them, I still think the most fun I had was like fighting Gracious and Glorious in that one hallway.
Okay. Because that's what I'm trying to get at, is that like, are there verses where like this enemy sucks, but in a room where you're combining them with these ones, and it's like I forgot, is it Agony who's buffing the pains in the room?
I didn't feel that way. I felt really
and
great
like it comes
using my
together
own moves
when you have multiple enemies of a certain type in the same verse, and you're like, okay, this is what it's about.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun using my own moves on the enemies and trying out all the weapons and the demons, but like in terms of interacting with the enemies, I did not. There's not a whole lot there.
Okay.
It's just a weak ass roster.
So, just out of curiosity, I went and took a look. Bayonetta 1, writer Hideki Kamiya.
You can tell.
Bayonetta 2. Writers Hideki Kamiya and Bingo Morihashi, and Bayonetta 3 writers Hideki Kamiya, Yusuke Miyata, Yuya Jin, Akiteru Naka. So from 1 to 2 to 4.
Oh yeah.
For Bayonetta 3 here, and Kamiya.
Oh, that four-person writing credit was definitely earned.
A lot of cooks. Although Kamiya in the kitchen is still making some weird shit.
No, the problem is not too many cooks in the kitchen.
It's Kamiya writing is going to be Kamiya writing then.
The problem is not too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, if anything, the story has a really clear desire that it wants to accomplish, and that desire is wrong.
I can't possibly understand.
Okay,
but yeah.
There's actually a really excellent example, and it's not quite the same, but emotionally, you'll be able to get what I'm saying. In DMC 5, the desire was to finish off the Sons of Sparta storyline and lift Nero up to be the new face, right?
Yes.
And I think that succeeded extremely well.
Yes.
The Bayonetta 3 plot desire is a bunch of bullshit that sucks. And they succeed in giving you the bullshit, and the bullshit is now here and will never go away, and it sucks. So I guess you guys got what you wanted.
Okay. They set out to do something, and they
succeed,
they
and
succeeded.
It's the worst thing ever. Like,
okay, I get it. Yeah, okay.
Like it's something that could have been picked up at like the draft phase, which is like, hey, I want this to be the new status quo at the end of the story, and someone should have gone, that's terrible. That's awful. You should not write that.
Interesting. I wonder why. Well, that's very surprising. Because I don't know, I kind of thought this would be a nice little easy slam dunk, if not a layup, by just giving us more of what we love and then introducing a little bit more new to it. You don't
I've
have
been hearing about how bad it was all week, and I was still very surprised at just how bad it was.
That being said, with all due respect, of course, I'm going to delete all of this and play it with my own opinions.
Resentful.
Resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna flush all this in a minute and play it and see how I feel. But that's surprising. That's surprising.
Also on like a minor nitpick thing that's not nearly as important, but like for a character action game where everyone's a superpowered mutant, the amount of like I'm dumb but only in the cutscenes is like out of control.
Oh, that's been there in all of them, right?
But it's like, I think it's the worst I've ever seen it. It's just astonishing. Like really dumb. Like
okay.
super bad dumb.
Is this reminiscent in how, like, I guess I don't want to ask too many questions, but
well, obviously not, right?
Yeah, but like, is this close to how like Luca showed up and Luca's the new character, and you're like, he's annoying, he's kind of just he's shitty little British kid, his vibe is weird, and I don't want Bayo hanging out with him.
British?
What? Not Luca. Sorry.
Loki?
Yeah, Riley.
Yeah, Riley. Okay,
British
Riley.
Yeah. Is it kind of like that where you're just like, Bayo's worse hanging around with you because of your little annoying vibe here, or
no,
is
it's
it
not
more
like that at all?
Or it's more. Go ahead.
It is coasting along just fine until the 90% mark, and then it just shits its pants.
Okay.
It's not like a consistent thing. It's just like somebody goes, now it's time for the story to become horrible, and pulls the brakes. It's Bayonetta 3 is the Battlestar Galactica of video game stories. A reference that will hit like 4 people and their stomachs will churn, but the rest won't get.
I'd love to hear some sort of behind the scenes spoiler interview as to like what and why from Kamiya someday.
Oh, I know exactly why. They tell you why. Like they basically tell you, like, this is why we did it this way.
Oh, there's no mystery. Oh, okay.
There's no mystery. There's none. And you're like, that was a bad decision, development staff. Terrible bad decision to do.